He was a leading organizer around the case of Troy Anthony Davis and the fight for justice following the police murder of 92-year-old Katherine Johnston. He has also worked extensively on high-profile campaigns to release political prisoners, including Leonard Peltier, Jeff Fort, Jamil Al-Amin, and Mumia Abu-Jamal. His deep commitment to this cause is reflected in his organizational roles. He serves as the co-director of the Leonard Peltier Official Support Committee and acts as the chief consultant for the movement building and community engagement at the For the People law firm, directly linking legal advocacy with community action. So without further ado, I welcome Kalonji Changa. Give it up.
Peace, how y'all doing? I said, peace, how y'all doing? As I was walking into this church, I thought, WWJD. I was like, what would Jesus do? And so, in the spirit of that particular faith, I thought that he would fight against police terrorism. According to the story, he was a victim of police terrorism under Pontius Pilate, the governor of that time, who was the Trump of that era. And I thought that he was executed. He was lynched or hanged from a cross. He was a victim of police terrorism. We agree with that? And then I said, well, what would Jesus say? And I thought that he would say, fuck the police. Forgive me, I forgot I was in the church. I meant to say that he would say, fuck the police, their corporate sponsors, fuck the governor, the mayor, the police unions, fuck the police who murdered Tamir Rice, fuck the police who murdered Katherine Johnson, fuck the police who murdered Mike Brown, fuck the police who enslaved us, fuck the goddamn COs, the correctional officers. You know what I'm saying? And all of their supporters. Now that we got that out the way. In this building, first of all, before I even go there, today's a very important day. 2 years ago, I was up in Pennsylvania, and I was visiting one of my heroes, and it was his 70th birthday. And I sat down with him for 4 hours, and we kicked it, and we laughed, and we talked shit about some of these grifters, as y'all call them, and we talked shit about some of these goofy activists that's walking around acting like they're activists. You understand what I'm saying? Thinking that they're thinking and all that type shit, right? And so today, he's 72 years old. The brother's been locked up for 44 years. He's been locked up since the age of 28. And so today, I want to give him a birthday shout, so the next time I talk to him on the phone, I could play it, and I could tell him that our comrades in Chicago, from Dare to Struggle, and so many other spaces, love him. So if you can say as loud as you can on the count of 1, 2, 3, on the count of 3, I want you to say, happy birthday, Mumia. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday, Mumia!
Now, I just told you the man locked up. I don't think he could hear you. Some of y'all, some of y'all had a little more bass in your voice when I was walking through here. Y'all was telling me which way to go. but now you got soft on me. Let's try this one more time. 1, 2, 3. That's what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm at home now. As I started to say a few minutes ago, right? So here we are, and I want to say, first off, shout out to the pastor of this church. I believe he's still the pastor of this church, David Black, who was shot with a pepper ball in the head back in October by ICE. And some of you get it twisted and you think it's a difference between ICE and the police. You can't have the police without ICE. So we clear about that. We know when we talk about the state, we talk about all the police, state, federal, local, national, whatever the case is, international, the military, the whole nine. In this building, 57 years ago, there was a historic meeting. This meeting was between Jeff Fort, leader of the then Black Rangers, Blackstone Rangers, which became Black Peastone Rangers, Black Peastones, and Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. This meeting took place in this building right here. Now, it's important to say that this meeting took place because of the fact that the federal government, the FBI, made all efforts to make sure that these men stayed separate and those organizations stayed separate. And so they wrote bogus letters to Mr. Fort stating that the Black Panther Party had a hit out on him. And so Chairman Fred Hampton, who was 21 at the time, he got a group of the Panthers and he came to this building right here. This was a headquarters of the Blackstone Rangers. This was an area where they had meetings, political education classes, so on and so forth. This very building that we're standing in right here, right now. And they met. And the FBI, they failed in their attempts to cause bloodshed. So what the state does, like the state always do, is if they cannot, it's a European thing. It's about colonialism. If they don't understand you and they can't control you, then they'll attempt to destroy you. And so now, 57 years later, Chairman Fred, months after this meeting, was assassinated in his bed. He was assassinated along with Defense Captain Mark Clark from Peoria, Illinois, and a few other folks were, of course, shot. And now, as we speak, our brother Jeff Fort, who is now an imam, he languishes in Colorado ADX. He's been in prison for the past 40 years. He's going on 80 years old. The thing that touches me about being here is, one, when it comes to Chairman Fred, I knew his mother, I knew his wife, and his son is one of my comrades. And so I've organized not only here in Chicago, but other spaces. I'm from Atlanta. I'm originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut, but I live in Atlanta the last 22 years. And then the other part of this thing that's historical is the fact that I'm on Mr. Fort's legal team, and I head his advocacy team. And so we speak at least monthly, once a month, on his conditions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, we expect to see some of the family from there. But I'm saying all that to say that although the state will declare war on you, you don't have to be a victim. A revolutionary is never a victim, because we're clear about what we're up against. And so there'll be grifters, as you say. There'll be William O'Neill's, the agent who set up the Panthers December 4th, 1969. And there'll be Gene Roberts, the agent who was in the building and served as a bodyguard for Malcolm X. And later, because of the fact that he was a bodyguard for Malcolm, he infiltrated the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. Because they figured that if you was doing security for Malcolm, that you must be on point. I know a number of the different brothers who encountered that criminal, and they're what I call my OGs, original guerrillas, or some may call elders. And my only criticism of them is that for me, a failed bodyguard can never be on my security. If someone did get popped when Malcolm got popped in the Audubon ballroom, I don't want to hear what you're talking about. I'm grateful to be here. I come from an era where you didn't just get the opportunity to speak because you had a mouth. I come from an era where you had to study more than you talk. Nowadays, it's a little different. Now you can just get a YouTube page and some social media action, and you the shit. Prime breeding ground for counterinsurgency. I'm 55 years old, and I look fucking good. And that's not arrogance. It's because I'm an African and I take care of myself. And I'm a warrior and I fight. And I'm speaking the way I speak because of the fact that it is a level of frustration when I look and I think about how our ancestors must have looked down the barrel of time and they couldn't have saw the sycophants and the sellouts and the house Negroes that we reward, that we award. And then when they die, some of these house Negroes and these sellouts, we pretend that they wasn't house Negroes and sellouts. You don't get a pass because you kicked the bucket. At best, we can say, R.I.P. And depending on who you are, that R.I.P. might be rest in peace. I'm here, I'm not an entertainer. And I want you all to be clear about that because, again, when it comes to movement has been reduced to popularity. How many followers do you have? Who co-signed you? How much money we can get off you? And what happens is the victims, the families of the victims, if they don't dance for $1, then they're ostracized. She crazy. He don't want to listen. As if you got the right to tell us how to mourn. As if you have the right to tell the victims of how to move. Now let's be clear about something, and I'm saying this and shout out to my sister Samaria who's in the front row. You know what I'm saying? Who I have love and respect for, and who I've seen some of these folks try to deal with, and she know how to say fuck you in a few different languages. So they were unsuccessful. But it's people like her that I respect and admire because of the fact that here it is, they stole her baby. They stole her baby. And then they want to tell her, a mother, understand this because of the fact that, see, we could talk about, as men, we could talk about pain. But when you carry a child, it hit different. There's no love like a mother's love. There's no love from a child like I have daughters. They love me. But let me look like I'm saying something to their mother. Wrong. You think I was from the Confederate. From the Confederacy. They like, what'd you say? Oh, no, I wasn't talking about her. Now, they want to control the narrative when it comes to that. But on the flip side, let's be clear about something too, because of the fact that unfortunately, a lot of the victims' families become celebrity. I don't know about you, but I couldn't imagine something happening to my child and you just telling me about some fucking award show. No disrespect for those of you who go that route. If that's, what you eat don't make me use the bathroom. We're talking about me right now. And at the same time, I'm also clear that because you lost a child, that also don't make you a leader. Because sometimes we say that, the family should lead the movement. Now, I don't agree with that. I think that family should play a part in the movement because if they're not politically in line or don't know what's going on, then they're going to reach for whatever comes first. So if Jesse Jackass or Al Sharpton or Crump the Chump or Tamika Mallory or Sean King or the other little goofy-ass rapper, if they say something, then you feel that that's the move, right? But respectfully, they don't take us out because of our last names. We're dealing with imperialism, and this is war. And the first encounter as African people, our first encounter with this imperialist state was an act of war. Jeff Fort, he's in prison because that's war. Imam Jamil Al-Amin, my imam, formerly H. Rap Brown, the reason why I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. He lost his life in prison because it was war. Mumia Abu Jamal is in prison because it's war. And we have to properly understand this. Tamir Rice, 11, 12 years old, was murdered because it was an act of war. Because they did not see him as a child, they saw him as an enemy combatant. And this pig, this rotten piece of shit, who was fired from another police department, but did not lose his certification, was able to get another job. Shit, if y'all say it's a shame, imagine how I feel. Imagine how Samaria feel. But this is how this thing goes. And so we have to get to the root of the problem. These police unions that aren't really unions, they're like the mafia and the police are hitmen. And their job is to take us out. Again, when I talk about war, you have some of these clowns that run around talking about bullshit like hands up, don't shoot, or defund the police. The U.S. has military bases in over 900 countries. It is a police state. What in your mind would make you think that they're going to defund their number one commodity? War. The police, the local police are the armed agents of the state. And we must be properly understood. That must be properly understood. The problem is that we move off of emotionalism and sensationalism. When you say dare to struggle, you got to say that shit from your chest. This ain't no You know, it ain't some groovy time. We ain't come together to have fun, did we? Look at the devil. I might fuck around and get struck by lightning up here. Anyway, you can keep me with the time because right now. Who's the timekeeper? Cool. Keep me up because right now I'm getting warm. I haven't gotten to the topic yet. Okay. When I talk about a police state, because of the fact that I think that when it comes to terminology, sometimes as organizers, we get used to throwing certain terminology around and slang and so on and so forth, and it's almost done with a degree of arrogance. You understand? Because you have everyday people, they don't know what you're talking about. And so sometimes you may shun folks because of the fact that, you coming with Marx and Engels and all that shit, and when it's a brother that's trying to get something to eat. It's a family over here about to get evicted, and you quoting shit. They can't eat your quotes. They can't eat your philosophies. Your theory is what's the practice about? Part of the reason that the so-called movements of the 60s have quote-unquote failed, even though politically they were successful, ideologically they were successful, but when it comes to, the militarized situation, they were militarily defeated. But one of the issues is we failed to train the next generation properly. The ego and the arrogance makes us want to be supreme potentates. We got to be the king. I got to be the prince. I'm the chief. I'm the chairman. Yeah, etc. But we talk about a police state. A police state is a political system in which the government exercises rigid and repressive control over the social, economic, and political life of the population, typically through arbitrary use of a national or secret police force. The state's priority is not the protection of individual rights, but the maintenance of its own power and enforcement of social conformity. I was just notified that I have 5 minutes. See, I talked all that, and y'all ain't even let me get to where I was supposed to. But I just want to say this because I'm going to be here all weekend. We have some powerful people coming through. I came for one purpose, and one purpose only, is that is to organize. I want to link and connect with you all. We started something some years ago called the National Coalition to Combat Police Terrorism. It came up out of the National Coalition to Combat Fascism. And so this is something that was started by former U.S. Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, veteran Panther Dhoruba Ben Wahad, and myself. And I think that we're in the right time and in the right frame of mind to come together collectively and to move something. Now, when we talk about a collective, that don't mean that you have to change what you're doing. It means that we have to find points of unity. And so if we're serious about where we're headed and what must be done, we got to do, as my grandmother would say, use our heads for more than a hat rack. Again, we get so caught up in deep speeches. We get so caught up in philosophies that we fail in practice. So we're moving around with a bunch of sloganeering. Everything's a slogan or a hashtag movement. Black Lives Matter, which respectfully was some bullshit. If you have to tell a motherfucker that your life matter, then you lost already. I mean, think about that. I mean, just the concept, not to mention, the $90 million plus that they stole. We ain't talking about that. But just in practice alone, just in theory alone, a hashtag movement talking about Black Lives Matter. And we think that that's a plan of action. And folks ran with it. Again, we got to move beyond theory. We got to get to practice. I'm not going to talk y'all to death. I'm going to go ahead and get off here so I can hear some other people. I appreciate y'all. And whatever we can do to move together, let's get it done. Peace.
Give it up one more time for Kalonji Changa.